Oh, okay. That was
Sorry if you were mid-conversation. Hopefully you all got the 2-minute warning in your room.
I didn't notice it, to be honest. It was interesting conversation. So
sorry. Well, you will be going back to carry on talking afterwards. So I hope you found that useful. And
really useful.
Good. And just to say, our next meeting is going to be face-to-face. Hopefully, I'm right in saying with a glass of Prosecco. So that will right.
Not at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No, not at 8 o'clock in the morning. Definitely, it will be at the end of the working day. So yeah, it would just be lovely.
It's near the end of term. Maybe it would be good to. We probably would do it at 8 in the morning.
Yeah. But yeah, it would just be lovely to see you all in person and yeah, do all this face to face. So that's I think that's our promise for the next meeting. Okay, at this point, I'm going to hand over to Nikki to talk about the survey feedback. Yeah, there you go, Nikki. All yours.
Thanks, Susan. And I just want to introduce myself quickly because I know we have got a number of new EAs on the call. So I don't know if everyone knows who I am, but I'm Nikki Wakefield and I'm the Careers Hub lead at Oxlep. So I oversee the Careers Hub of, obviously, as you know, at the moment we have 49 schools and colleges within that, but that will be growing over September 2022. We're hoping to have 53 schools and colleges within the network. Yeah, I work very closely with the CEC, make sure that we're really accountable for what we're delivering locally, put together our strategic plan for what we want to achieve with our schools locally, and have obviously also have a couple of schools myself that I support and work with the EAs within those as well. So that's me. And yes, I'm going to share the results of the EA survey. So just bear with me 2 seconds and I'll pull up my slides. Oh no, I don't want it starting on that one because that will give everything away before I've even started. Right, hold on. Okay, so hopefully some of you, because many of you did complete this. So as I said before, thank you very much for doing that. I think we had 20 of our enterprise complete this, which was 38%, over 20 of you complete this. The survey is live nationally during February and March. And so what I've done is pulled together the national data and the local data so you can see the comparison. But I think it's really worth being aware that we've had, obviously, some of you are new to the role, so we've got a number of new EAs in the role, but also there are other areas in the country that have really, so for London, for example, they've got 500 new schools that have joined in the last year, so they've got a lot of new schools and EAs. So some of the data is slightly skewed by the fact that we've obviously got a real mixture of enterprise advisors in the network across the country, some who have been doing it for years and years now, and some who are on those very first steps of the journey. So just bear that in mind with all the data as well. So one of the things that's looked at, first of all, is the benefits to the individual and employee. Now, we know as our enterprise advisors are really critical to us in Oxfordshire and across the country throughout all the networks in ensuring that voice of business is recognised around the table. You can really support the schools in terms of making sure that what they're pulling together really meets the needs of the workplace, and also obviously gives you a great understanding as well of young people, of the schools, of the skills that they've already got, of the skills they need to develop, etc. But it's also obviously really important that you get something out of this role. It's not about all giving, it's certainly about you also getting something out of this role for you individually, and also that you can sort of feedback and use within your workplace as well. So what we've got here is there are questions around what are the benefits to the individual and the employee, and I think you can see here that in terms of two areas that were looked at. There was the sense of mission and growing your network. And it's great to see in Oxfordshire, we've got a real sense of people feeling that they're able to grow their network through that, I'm assuming within schools, through activities that are run within schools, and most importantly, this network itself in terms of EAs, which is why this morning we really wanted to make sure that you all had a chance just to have a chat, because we realised that's really been missed over the last couple of years, is really growing that community so that you feel that you're there to support each other as well. So you can see there in terms of Oxfordshire against National, there's a little bit of difference in terms of where people feel that they're really able to get the benefits from. But I think some of that in terms of the sense of mission, I'd like to think going forward that we'll see a real increase in that as we move out of the pandemic, as people feel they can engage more with their schools than they have done previously. And actually, as schools continue to open up their doors to get you involved in what they're trying to achieve for their students. And I think schools themselves are becoming a lot more strategic, and certainly in Oxfordshire, since we've had our head teacher meeting head teacher conference last November, schools are certainly becoming a lot more aware of the importance of careers, which will hopefully enable you to feel that you're part of that vision that they have for their school in wanting to improve their careers programmes. There are areas that were looked at in terms of skills developed for the role. So 60% of EAs reported developing a skill or a number of skills in their roles as an EA. And I think it's really important here to highlight some of those key areas, such as communication skills, relationship management, strategic planning, analytical skills. Firstly, one of the things to highlight is obviously the reason that we invite that you come on board to do this role is because you have a lot of these skills anyway, and it's about transferring those and supporting your careers leaders as well in developing those. And on the back of this, there is a careers leader survey that runs as well, which will show you how they feel about yourself in the EA role and the skills you've managed to help them develop. But also, obviously, it's important for us that you feel you're getting something individually out of this, that this is actually developing yourself, and you're learning skills and interacting with new people that you can take forward in your own careers too. Bear with me a second as I try and change slide. So in terms of the employer benefits, it's really important that whether you're self-employed, whether you work for a small company, whether you work for a large organisation, that our employers also feel there's a real importance for our volunteers to engage in this programme. And I think you can see here that we feel employers, and certainly from an EA perspective, they feel their employers are now more able to develop relationships with local schools and colleges naturally, that they're being encouraged for more staff to volunteer in schools and colleges. And I know we have a couple of organisations who do have multiple enterprise advisors who now work across the schools, and it seemed to be a really valuable volunteering role for their employees to do. Obviously, we looked at the skills that you understand more about the skills of young people, but I think and also how you've been able to use those skills that I mentioned before and develop those back and use them back in your workplace. But the two I just really want to point out here, as well as about apprenticeships, and apprenticeships is a really big focus, not just for us locally, but also nationally as well, about really bringing up to ensure that schools and colleges see vocational and apprenticeship routes on a par with higher education. That's not to say that they will be a preferred route, but certainly that they see the real value in those, and in ensuring that young people are given all the information about the different pathways that are available to them, so that they're able to make a choice on their own sort of strengths and skills and ambitions, etc. Because there's such a variety of vocational and apprenticeship routes now, so everything obviously up to degree level apprenticeships and beyond as well. So it's really important that information gets out there, and it's great to see that we've actually got a number of EAs who said from working with schools they've really started to think about their apprenticeship programme, how they can improve that. And also we've got examples as well where employers have actually recruited young people from within those schools and colleges onto their programmes. So we want to see more of that happening sort of going forward, and really keen as a whole skills team, not just within our CEC team, to support local employers to do that. What's been achieved through the EA role in terms of the EAs themselves feeling, you can see, I won't go through all of these, but you can see here, I think some of the ones that are probably really important to you, feeling you've improved young people's career readiness. That's really important. I know many of you come into this wanting to make sure that you're ensuring that young people will be able to be ambitious and raise their aspirations and go on to be successful and have, you know, fruitful and exciting careers. So really good to see that most of you feel that you're being able to do that as well, and also improve their education or employment outcomes is something else that we're really keen. And again, these we really want to see grow over the next couple of years. And again, apprenticeships comes up as well. So you feel that you've been able to raise the awareness of apprenticeships and technical pathways, which, as I said, is a really key sort of focus for us locally, but also very much nationally as well. In terms of the EA role itself, a main focus of the EA role is really to be that strategic partner who supports the schools in terms of pulling together their careers programme to make sure that it actually meets the needs of their students, but also meets the needs of the local economy as well. I think, and businesses locally. All schools are on a completely different part of the journey. Some are already have a strategic plan in place, have a really robust programme in place, and other schools are just starting that journey. So that's probably why you see some of the differentiation in this. But what's really positive is a large proportion of our EAs feel that they are able to work with their schools to really evaluate that careers plan and programme. So hopefully, and for those of you that are new to the role, you feel that you're someone, as I said, who sits around that table, who's part of looking at, is this still fit for purpose? Is this still doing the right thing? Are we supporting all the cohorts that we need to support? So we're not looking at just a one scenario fix for a particular benchmark, but we're actually looking at how we can support different groups of students to get the most from those activities. So that's, I think, a really, really positive thing, because some will already have their strategic careers plan in place. So it may well be that you haven't got the opportunity to really sort of go back and refresh that, but really important that we continue to support our schools in evaluating that going forward as well. In terms of how you're supporting careers activities, and again, as I said, I know this is something that you all love to do. It's great to see so many of you feel you're able to support your schools in terms of the design of those careers activities. And as I've mentioned, that's really making sure that, you know, if they're doing mock interviews, are they looking to, you know, are they in terms of the questions that are being asking of students, are they relevant to actually the world of work? Are they looking at the types of questions that they would be asking students who you know, looking for their first roles? And also, are they doing it in a way that is actually relevant? Is it worth, and I know some of you have done this, bringing sort of telephone interviews or virtual interviews into their process in terms of supporting students really being ready for that. So great to see so many of you feel you've had an input in terms of looking at those activities and making sure they're really relevant as well. And obviously a lot of you actually getting involved with those, delivering some of those activities to young people as well, which certainly I know that I've done on a couple of occasions this year, and it's just always great to actually, after sitting there with the careers leader and the SLT, etc., to actually be able to spend some time working directly with the students. I know is hugely rewarding, because you can really see the difference that some of the activities, or all of the activities that run, the difference and the impact it has on the young person in terms of growing their confidence and understanding to support them in making decisions about their next steps. So a few other pieces here in terms of working with the wider staff in the school. So going forward, I think it's going to be really important that you don't just work with the careers leader, that you do have engagement with that senior leadership team, with the governors, with the teachers, etc. It's got to be a whole school approach to careers. And I think more schools are starting to get that. Not all of them are there, and you'll know from working within your own school and working with your enterprise coordinator whereabouts your school is on that journey. But all schools are, you know, they're on the way, and some have got that very much embedded. But what we've had, we obviously, as I mentioned already, we had the head teacher conference back in November, And we can see that 40% of our EAs now have supported the senior leadership team engagement with careers. So that's a massive increase on previous years in terms of so many of you feeling that you're actually able to really support the careers leader and making sure the senior leadership team are aware of the programme and also the importance and impact of the programme as well. An area very much for develop. I mean, I would say that's still an area I want to push up massively. I'd love to have that ambition within the next year or two that all of you have regular yearly meetings with the head teachers within your schools and really feel that you are very much able to ensure that those head teachers are fully invested in the careers programme and fully aware of what it's achieving for their students. So something we will absolutely continue to push. An area for development is we have 10% of you saying you supported governor engagement with careers. I have actually got a meeting on Friday with the governor services team within Oxfordshire County Council, and we're going to look to work with them to see how we can really improve that. So they obviously work with all the governors across the schools, so that we're going to look at how they can support us in terms of really engaging with that community going forward as well, because they're a really important person to have on board and make sure that there's that two-way conversation between the leadership within the school and the careers team and the careers lead as well. 25% of you have worked with teachers to design career activities, which is fantastic. We'd love to see more of this. We'd love to see you using your skills and your knowledge from your employer or from your company to actually think about which area of the curriculum you could work with to help those teachers bring the curriculum to life with their students through using information or resources you have within your business. So absolutely, we'd love to see more of that and happy to support you. And your EC would be happy to support you in working with your careers leader and looking at, which area of the curriculum actually could you do that in, where would the best fit be. And then 10% of you have run CPD sessions with the school or college staff as well. So really making sure we're continuing to increase their knowledge. This is around the development. This is the really important piece for us locally, but also nationally as well. So nationally, they'll be looking at this data, not just from us, but also from across the networks across the country to look at what CPD should they put on going forward. And there is now within the CEC, the central team, there is someone actually leading on enterprise advisor, inductions, training, communication. So I think over the next year, you'll see a real improvement in terms of the communication that comes out to you and the opportunities for you to learn more so that you can ultimately give more back to your schools. But this has given us a real flavour of where we are. Again, I want to caveat with this fact. We know we've got a number of new enterprise advisors who have started this year. We know we've got a number of new enterprise advisors who have started through the course of the pandemic and maybe haven't been able to get as engaged with the school as they would like to. But really important for us to see that 60% of you, and that kind of matches with the 40% that are engaging with senior leaders, but 60% of you would like support with that in terms of looking at how we can work more effectively with senior leaders. And as I said, that is a priority for us locally as well. 45% better support in understanding the digital tools available to support evaluations. And that's something we can certainly do, is bring you into those evaluation meetings so you can understand how those tools work as well. The one that did worry me is better support and understanding the Gatsby benchmarks. If that is something you as an individual feel that you need, any of your ECs, I'm sure, will be happy to put half an hour in the diary with you just to run through that and to help sure you really understand and have got the knowledge behind not just the overarching 8 benchmarks, but also the sub benchmarks as well. So if that's a specific need you've got, we may run a CPD session next year, but if you want it before then, please just reach out to your EC, and I'm sure any of us would be happy to do that, or even pull a few of you together to do that as a small group as well. So there's a few things there. There's a lot of information from the CEC as well, a lot of resources. So if any of those you're looking at those thinking, no, that's something I really want to do, and that's something I would like to try and develop sooner rather than later, please let us know, and we'll see what resources and time we can share with you to enable you to do that. And finally, great to see that the majority of you feel satisfied with the experience of being an enterprise advisor. We'd like to see that increase even more, but great to see that many of you do. 80% are satisfied with the induction you've received to deliver your role, so the information that you received sort of initially, and then 85% are satisfied with the support they received from their enterprise coordinator to deliver the role, which I'm not surprised about because all of our enterprise coordinators, so Susan, Aoife and Eleanor, are absolutely fantastic. So it should be 90, well, it should be 100%, but absolutely, we are here for you. So please do feel that you can reach out to us with anything that you have questions about at any times, and we're certainly here to support you. But yeah, no, good results to see that, you know, overall the satisfaction is good. Again, we'd love to see that increase next year as well, and hopefully as next year hopefully will be a normal year, and we'll be able to make sure that there's a lot more you can do in schools. I can't see anyone, Susan, but is there anything in the chat, or has anyone got any questions at all before I move on to the next bit, the presentation?
Nothing in the chat regarding this. Oh, Catherine says a great share. Thank you, Nikki. Thanks, Catherine. Does anybody want any questions, any comments on what Nikki's raised there before we move on to the summer challenge?
There was one question about, can we have copy of the presentation?
Oh, okay, great. Sorry, no, I hadn't seen that. Yes, this is being recorded, so we'll share it afterwards, and the slides as well.
And slides, yeah, definitely.
I just know any survey done. Obviously, I wasn't part of it. I'm very, very new in this. But how often do you do these surveys?
This is once a year. The enterprise advisor one is once a year, so it'll be next February that the next one will run.
Okay, next one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You also mentioned the head teacher conference a couple of times. Is that going to be an annual event? That sounds like a useful way of getting that engagement from the senior leadership.
Yeah, no, it was really good. We had I think we had 30 of the head teachers from across our 49 schools attend, which was a really, really, really good turnout. And I think the one we had in November was very much about laying the foundation and ensuring more of our head teachers kind of knew what we did and who we are, etc., because the careers leaders are so engaged. But in some instances, as I said, the head teachers not so much and don't necessarily see the value. Well, they do see the value in careers, but don't really understand the impact that it can have. So we were talking yesterday, we have a steering group that supports us with the Careers Hub, and we have 2 head teachers who sit on that along with other sort of organisations, and they're going to go back and ask if we can run another conference this November. It's going to be probably more of a practical, we're at the point where we're probably ready now to share more of that, rather than the high level overview of this is what the labour market looks like, this is what the CEC does. We're going to delve a bit deeper into the detail, talking about what careers leaders actually do, best practice, maybe here for some young people as well in terms of the impact. But absolutely, we're looking to have that in November, and all careers leaders will be invited again as they were this time. So sorry, that was a very long answer, which I could have just said yes to.
Catherine, you've got a question?
Thanks, Susan. I just wondered, there's some great stats there, always liking to promote the work and the benefit and the value to both employer and enterprise advisor. Can we share some of these stats on social media ourselves? Be happy to. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Please do.
Chris?
Yeah, it's just a thought. One of those pieces of feedback about wanting to get more engaged with governors. In Hampshire, it's probably the same in Oxfordshire, there's the body within the county called Governor Services. And obviously Governor Services tend to deliver oversight at a strategic level to the activity of governors within the Hampshire schools. It must be similar in Oxfordshire. So perhaps the question or the suggestion is that to engage, if you're not already doing so, then to engage with governor services within the county council as a means of putting together a set of intervention strategies, I would suggest, that can be developed in conjunction with governor services, that can then be rolled out to the chair of governors at the schools, because the alignment here is strategic support. And for those of you who know how governors work, the governors are not charged with operational delivery, they are charged with strategic oversight of the school. So if that's not already happening, I might suggest that might be something worth exploring.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris. And I have actually got a meeting with them on Friday. So I've been trying for some time to get that engagement. We do have someone who heads up the school improvements team, who sits on our steering group as well. And she has the Governor Services sit underneath her. So we've been trying for some time to get in with to sort of work with them on some sort of program, and yeah, hopefully that meeting on Friday, that will be fruitful and we'll get something that comes out of that. They're talking at the moment about maybe doing a conference or something like that for all the governors that's really just focused around careers, but I'll certainly feed back to this group when we know how we'll be taking that forward. But yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and just to add that all the governors were invited along to the head teachers conference as well in November. So we're continually trying to involve them and engage them. And those that came along were brilliant, and they've been attending meetings since with the schools. So it's yeah, hopefully the meeting on Friday will be fruitful. Okay, I can't see any more questions, Nikki. So
brilliant. Okay, I'll move on then. So these are our targets from Oxford in terms of our benchmarks, and how we're actually progressing against those. So some of this, certainly to those of you that are new, will make absolutely no sense whatsoever. And in fact, it may not make much sense to any of you, to be honest. But what we have to do, so as you know, there are the 8 benchmarks that there are within the Gatsby framework, and we need to ensure that all of our schools, so at the moment we have 2 tiers of schools, well, not tiers, I don't like to say it that way, but we have a whole network, and then of the whole network, 24 of our schools sit within the Careers Hub, and those sitting with the Careers Hub should be expected to achieve a higher number of benchmarks than those just in the network, because our enterprise coordinators should be supporting them to achieve all of the benchmarks, and whereas with those in the network, they should just be focusing on those benchmarks that relate to engagement with employers. However, in reality, what we find is, as ECs, that's quite difficult to do, to say, right, you're my 8 schools that are in the hub, and you're my 8 schools that are in the network. I'm going to treat you differently. We tend to treat them very similarly. And actually from September, we have now, the CEC confirmed last week, all of our schools will be moving into the hub. So we will not have any schools that just sit within the network. All of our 49, or what will be 53 schools, will sit within the Careers Hub. So all of them will be getting support to meet all 8 of the benchmarks from our enterprise coordinators and from you as well. But so at the moment, though, as it sits, any schools that sit within the networks and not within the hub need to be achieving at least 2 benchmarks. And the vast majority of our schools are. We've only got 3 that are not achieving that floor target. And all of our hub schools should be achieving 3 benchmarks. And as you can see there, 4 of those are currently not achieving that floor target. So those are schools at the moment throughout this term. And that's not to say we're not supporting the others in any stretch of the imagination, but we really do need to look at those schools to see, right, what additional support do you need to be able to hit that floor target? Are there some sort of, and a lot of them you'll find, and hopefully you've seen this from the reports you've been sent, if they're not achieving them, it tends to be on 1 or 2 very small points, sub-benchmarks, in terms of why they're not achieving that. And it might be, as an enterprise advisor, that's something that you can support them with, and we'll come on to that in a minute as well. Everything else, we're pretty much there or thereabouts. I think if we shift all of our schools to achieving benchmark 2 for the network, we'll probably get much closer to 4 benchmarks on average across our EAN schools. We're already meeting in terms of the average of 5 benchmarks across our hub schools, but obviously by getting those 4 that not currently achieving that minimum target, we will hopefully improve that as well. We've got school progress in terms of benchmark 5, which is our employer encounters. We're sitting sort of out where we need to be for that, and progress in terms of benchmark 6 with our experiences of the workplace. Absolutely, our schools have been smashing that, and it's been brilliant to see so many of them really challenging themselves to get those students back out on face-to-face work experience this year, or getting them on workplace visits. And we've seen such an enthusiasm. I think schools have really recognised what students have missed from actually having that face-to-face contact, and have our schools have really pushed that. So we've seen a massive improvement in that from this time last year as well. Compass Plus, don't worry too much about that at the moment in terms of your understanding of what you can do around that. That's about moving them from, these are the digital tools that they use for the evaluations, and Compass has been around for many years. Compass Plus launched probably, I would say, maybe Susan, about 18 months, 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And we are trying to move all of our schools who use Compass onto Compass Plus. It's got a lot more that you can do on Compass Plus. You can do, as well as just evaluation, you can do a lot of planning. You can monitor individual students, so it links up with the school's management information system, so they can actually see an individual student's journey in terms of the support they've had from careers. You can do surveys with the whole school as well, to really look beyond the benchmarks. So rather than just thinking at, are we meeting the benchmarks, it's actually looking at, but what's the actual impact of what we're doing on for the students. So there's so much more functionality through Compass Plus, and so as a team, that's really our ambition, is to move more of our schools onto Compass Plus. And we have got a training session with them for them next month from the CEC to try and support them in doing that and using the tool effectively. The one highlighted in red is Benchmark One, and for those of you who've been around a while, you will know Benchmark One is all about, it's really the very foundations of what you need in place for a solid careers programme. So it is hard to be able to achieve all 8 or to achieve all the others if you're not achieving Benchmark One. So Benchmark One is very much about having that senior leadership team support, making sure that you have a careers linked governor within the school, making sure that there are resources attached to the role, and that will be whether that's staff or whether that's funding for particular activities, etc. And it's really ensuring that the careers programme is, in place and has strategic elements. So it has a vision, you understand why you're doing what you're doing, but it also has operational elements in terms of really sort of laying out effectively how you're going to achieve the aims that you have for that vision. So a lot of our schools do actually have those strategic plans in place, and as we said before, it looks like from the data, a lot of you have supported your schools in terms of looking at that and evaluating that and making sure that's in place, which is great. But Benchmark One also covers areas such as making sure your website is up to date, has all the information about your programme on, but making sure there's elements of it which both parents and students and teachers and employers has got information on which is useful for them. So we'll come on to that in a second. And then also there's areas around evaluation as well. So that is where in terms of making sure that the program's evaluated on a regular basis, but it's done that through that continuous evaluation with students and teachers again, and parents, to ensure, students, teachers and employers, to ensure that you're using all the feedback from those key stakeholders to continuously improve your program. And that doesn't mean that schools are doing an evaluation with their students after every single activity that they do. That would be probably near on impossible. I'm not sure everyone would ever use all of that data. Our careers leaders certainly don't have time to make use of that data, but that can be about running a once or twice a year survey with your students to see the impact they feel they've had from the activity so far. It could be running a focus group. There's lots of different ways that schools can look at doing that, and those are probably the 2 areas. If you look at it will be different for all of you, but they are the most common areas which our schools fall down on, and they're quite a quick and easy fix with regards to that. So that's where the summer challenge comes in, and that's not the actual logo, that's just something I found online. So the CEC, Careers and Enterprise Company, have set all of the network, so right across the country, the challenge of really trying to, number one, pull those schools up or support those schools who are not meeting the floor target of benchmarks to be achieving those by the end of this year. But secondly, to look at Benchmark 1 and to see what can be supported throughout the next few months to be able to really make some improvements there and have more of our schools meeting Benchmark 1. You're not going to write a whole strategic plan in the next sort of, well, you might do, I suppose, but I think most schools will feel pretty overwhelmed with that, given it's exam time, given there's lots going on, and given a number of our career, or a large number of our careers leaders wear many different hats within their school. That might be something that needs a longer term support on. But for those who maybe are lacking in their website, for their EA to go on and just give that a quick review and see, you know, compare it maybe with some other websites, as other school websites where they are meeting that, and see if there are any some quick things that schools can do to fix that, to run some sort of whether that's running some focus group with students around evaluation, or running some surveys that go putting together a survey that goes out to parents to see how they feel about the careers programme. That can obviously support the evaluation piece. So you'll all know by looking at the PDFs that came through where your actual gaps are, and what we want to do, and what I'm just going to, I've already flagged this up, but as I said, these are some of the common gaps, and there is some great resources out there. So from the Careers and Enterprise Company, and obviously the support from your enterprise coordinator as well, who can really support you in looking at, okay, what's out there, what's best practice. The if we look at impact evaluation, for example, there's a whole toolkit which has ready-made surveys for schools to use, etc. So it's about sort of supporting your careers leaders in terms of looking at this and having that light touch informal approach. It's not about, we certainly don't ever, and the CEC are the same as this, we'd never want to be the stick. We never want to be the ones that going, you're not doing this, you should be doing this, because we know schools are incredibly busy and have multiple different challenges, and every school, as I said before, is on a different sort of part of their journey. But what we want to do is that soft approach to saying, do you want some support with this? There are these tools out there. Do you want me to look at the evaluation toolkit so I can support you, maybe make some recommendations? What realistically do you think you'd be able to do this term that I can support you with, to try and see if we can move closer to meeting that benchmark 1? As I said, benchmark 1 really is that sort of, it needs to, if that's embedded, if you've got that buy-in from the leadership team, from the governors, if you've got that evaluation to make sure you are looking at the effectiveness of your programme, if you've got the website, which is, as it says there, it's your window to the world, including Ofsted will be the first thing Ofsted look at before they go into school when they're looking at careers. And we've had some careers leaders recently who have been really grilled by Ofsted around their careers programmes. So, you know, really important that they're looking at those elements. But there will be, for all of you, there might be some different elements that need support. And as I said, for some of you, it's probably going to be too big a journey to meet it benchmark 1 by the end of this term. But we can certainly look with your EC to support those schools in really trying to focus on the elements that they need to work on. So I think what we thought next was, is there any questions from that, first of all? Because I think what we thought next is we would move into breakout rooms. You've all got your PDFs, hopefully, which really focus on benchmark 1 in terms of looking at where your gaps are. But also what we would love to do is for any of you who have supported your schools in terms of any of this work around benchmark 1, so not just the website and impact, but the senior leadership team piece, etc., to share what you've been doing. To support others as well. We know we've got a number of new people in the room, so it'd be really important, I think, that they can hear from others in terms of both the successes but also the challenges as well. Please do feel free to share those. But if we can just have that time, I think, together to focus on what you could potentially support your school with in the next couple of months. And then what I would suggest from that is you then have that follow-up conversation with your enterprise coordinator, and you look at how you can jointly sort of start to talk to your schools about making that improvement for the next evaluation. So Susan, are there any questions from anyone at all before we go into breakout rooms?
Yeah, Nikki, did you ping Heidi the Compass results?
Yeah, I did send it. It was quite late last night. I apologise, Heidi, but I did send it, but I will resend it right now. When I stop sharing my screen, I'll stop sharing my screen now and I will resend it straight away. And
Nicola suggested having or creating a document where we can share best practice and ideas. That's definitely something that we can follow up on afterwards. Thanks, Nicola. Okay, so I'm going to whiz you all back to your
You've got a
rooms
hand up
again.
from Eileen at the moment. Oh, she's gone down.
I took
Okay,
it
oh,
down
sorry,
'cause I
Eileen, was there a
thought I
question?
needed to put it in the chat.
Yeah, I hadn't realised I had got that. I do apologise.
That's okay, no
Okay,
worries.
my question is, I know our school got some funding to upload some stuff onto their website. Is there any funding available that people ought to know about?
Not from us or from the Careers and Enterprise Company. I doubt from anywhere else. I would imagine that it was just within the school budgets. I don't know.
It was definitely something to do with Oxlab or knowing about it. I couldn't tell you where or how. I can't quite remember. It was something about there was £200 to sort out the website and uploading the stuff onto the website.
Which school is that, Aileen?
Coopers.
Coopers. We did
Remember, I'll find out.
Yeah, fine. When was that? Do you know roughly when that
It was
was?
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so what we did have a couple of years ago is we had the Hub Fund, which was made available to schools, and schools could bid. Oh, sorry, Heidi, I'll do that again. Schools could bid for some of that funding. In the last couple of years, we've used that centrally to create things like Find Your Future. So the platform that you can see behind me and Susan, and a lot of our LMI resources that schools use, because schools felt that actually it worked better if we combined that funding into one and used it sort of jointly to support the majority. So that's not available individually at the moment, but no, I'm afraid there isn't no pots of money for that, but thank you for raising it.
Okay, one moment. I've just got one more person to assign. I'll do that. Right. I'm going to reopen the room. So hopefully you're just all going to go straight back to where you were before. And if you don't, then we'll have another go. Here we are in limbo again. It does say it's opening. Right, Stuart, I'm just about to assign you. I've tried a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've had some technical issues this morning. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to say I've seen you sort of coming in and out a few times.
Very
Apologies.
strange.
Right, I'm going to stick you in. I've assigned you to room 1, so hopefully you're about to whiz off. It's I hate doing these rooms. It's always that, are they going to go? Are they going to go? Someone normally gets left behind. It's whirring trying to assign you at the moment. Okay, so what happened there? Did you get pinged back?
No, yeah, I just went to a completely blank screen.
Me too.
And then I couldn't unmute myself. So
okay, right.
You could try again.
What room were you in? Can you remember?
I was in a room with Andy Hudson-Shaw and Maria something and Eileen something.
You were room 4. Right, let me send you off to room 4 quickly.
Thank you.
1 second. Oh, I hate doing breakout rooms.
Particularly with a lot of people.
It's the responsibility of it, and it's right. I'm trying to assign. It says unassigned. Why is it saying unassigned next to you? You might have to stay and chat with me otherwise.
That's right.
Available room 4. Yes, right. Okay, room 4. Let's try you again with room 4. Participants not in room cannot be moved to another room. So do I have to unassign you? It thinks that you're
probably
in room 4.
Probably because I joined You might have to, sorry, Susan, but
Cancel room assignments. You'll need to start over if you continue. The trouble is,
oh,
if
no, then you might, you lose everybody.
I might move everybody.
That'd be fun.
Let's just come out of this for a minute. Let me cancel. Let me try again. Cancel assignments. Oh my God. Go back.
Well, we can just have a chat, can't we?
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry too much in case it disrupts everything else.
People. It's now not letting me get out of this screen.
Don't worry, Susan.
Right. Okay. That's right. But I can't now see you, and I've just got a screen in front of me saying select people and choose a room to assign them to. Okay. Let me just find. Let's just try again. Kate Berman, guest, unassigned. Let's try this one. Unassigned. Let's go to room 4. Assign. Okay, you might be going off now, Kate, because you're on there twice for some reason. Both assigned.
I've also said it'll automatically move me in 10 seconds, unless that's just general, but we'll wait and see.
Okay, you might both be going. Might be both going off together. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, sorry, I was in the room and it just sort of had some weird issue and it just kicked me out for room.
Okay, right, let me just see if can you remember what room you were in?
Yeah.
Stuart's back.
Yeah.
Stuart's just whizzing around in the
Yeah, well, I'm not sure why, but my computer doesn't seem to like being put into another room. To be honest, don't worry. I'll sort of wait and join when everybody rejoins.
You can sit and chat to me for a moment. Let me just see if I can get Daniel back to his room.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Right, let's go for rooms. Assign. Right, weirdly enough, it doesn't even say that you're not in your room, Daniel. I've just had this with somebody else. Assign participants. Let me just see if I can find you. How are you, Daniel, anyway?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm assuming you've heard nothing from the school?
No, I haven't. No, not since we both sent out the reminders, no.
Unassigned. Let's have a quick look. So, on your story. My participants. In your story. Okay, assigned. Room. Unselected. Assign. No, it thinks thinks you're still in the room, Daniel.
Okay.
To assign them to. Okay, so I've got you. Okay, let's try again. I've taken you off and added you back in again. You might just whiz off now.
Okay, fingers crossed. We shall see.
Or you might just be left here for longer.
Oh, I think it's about to send me over actually.
Yeah, you're getting a message?
Yes, great, thank you.
Okay. Stuart, nothing with you?
No, I haven't had any new message.
Okay.
But clearly when you rejoin, it doesn't remember which room you're in or.
No. Right, let me try one more go and then anyway, otherwise just sit and chat to me. I'm trying to
indeed.
Indeed. 1 second. I've got there's another team meeting going on, our Oxlep team meeting, and I'm getting all the notifications pinging in. I don't know how to mute one Teams without muting another.
That sounds like an advanced course.
Oh, crikey. View meeting details. I just want to mute all these messages coming in the chat. Okay, it's gone quiet for a moment anyway. I'm trying to sort of turn my work phone off because that's the worst bit at the moment that keeps bleeping at me. It's the team meeting every week, or it's once every 2 weeks, starts with celebration of something or other. So when they say someone's done this, then everybody goes in the chat and says, "Oh, well done, well done." You get like 40 notifications coming up on your screen of. Indeed. So that's just happening at the moment. I'm hoping nobody else is going to be getting told that they're amazing, because it will all happen again as well in a second.
And there is a tipping point where if over half of the group have said congratulations, you're forced to then send your congratulations.
I have exactly the same predicament, because I just find it all a bit painful. But
yeah.
It then does become that you're quite obviously one of the very few people that hasn't put something in there. So you think, oh, perhaps I better write something, and it just all becomes a bit farcical in the end. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, how's it going at you're with the SEND school, the special school, aren't you?
Yes, at Iffley.
Mabel Pritchard?
It's Iffley.
Iffley, okay.
Yeah, and they're great. I mean, it's been a rough old time, hasn't it, for them?
Yeah.
And the lady who's in charge of careers there, Debbie, she's just been appointed to the deputy head post, which is fantastic.
Oh wow, Debbie Nichols, yeah, she's amazing, isn't she?
She is fantastic, and that's why, you know, but she doesn't like to ask too much, so you feel like you could help, but you don't want to interrupt anything, particularly when you couldn't get down there and see them.
Yeah.
So they're great. It's all fine. There's a couple of specifics that we're going to pick up over the next few weeks. So that's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But inevitably, it's great that she'll still be involved and is deputy head, but inevitably she'll have less time for it. So hopefully they'll be able to fill that gap.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got I think they've got their students attending a careers fair today that's been, I think it's a joint, I don't know whether you've heard about that, it's a joint careers fair.
I didn't realise it was today, but I heard they were going to a careers fair, yeah.
Because Eleanor couldn't join the meeting this morning because she's got, I think there are 6 schools, and it's being hosted by Ignite Sport down at Oxford.
Oh, right, yes.
Academy.
You mentioned Ignite, who I don't know. I know quite a few of the private training providers, which is where my background is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I don't know them very well, so I've said I'll have a look and see how and where else they're involved.
Yeah, no, Ignite Sport are fantastic, definitely worth meeting up with. Hannah Bladen's the one who sort of leads on all our stuff. Okay. Very, very engaged with all the schools, especially with the SEND schools, which is brilliant.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
And that's what we really need is more employers working more closely with the special schools.
And there's a lot of them that are nervous, but don't need to be.
No. And in fact, Hannah's got one of the, I think it's Josh from Iffley, who joined, I think he went on work experience possibly 2 years or 3 years ago, and is now doing an apprenticeship with them, and is one of the ones that's been confirmed. So a real success story.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
And so I think she's a great employer or provider really to talk to other sort of providers. And I think they've got 16 employers going along to the fair today, which is fantastic. Good. 16 stands anyway, I think. So your background's training providers, is it?
Yes, I've run and been involved and still involved in running a number of the probably larger training providers.
Yeah.
So the national ones, and I'm still involved with AELP, the Association of Employment and Learning Providers. So the sort of the lobby group for training providers. So I see quite a few of them. So yeah, I feel like I should do more to engage the training providers around the patch, but quite a few of them are indeed very engaged. So
it's funny because we have the other part of the skills team work quite closely with training providers, and they have a training provider forum every sort of 2 or 3 times a year, I think. And I'm always amazed that you know, potentially there are sort of 30 or 40 on the list for the meeting. They don't always all turn up, or they never all turn up. But I never had any idea there were so many training providers around in Oxfordshire. And it's always the same ones that are engaging with schools, and a lot of the others, they come along to the meetings and they say, we really want to engage, we want to do more, but they're not. So any influence you can have on any training providers sort of doing more stuff.
And maybe I ought to try and come along to one of those meetings.
Yes, definitely. I can definitely get you invited.
And at least see the list. Because of course part of the problem is the national training providers don't see themselves as Oxfordshire training providers, so they may not come along, but they have huge influence and are delivering, you know, they're working with, I work with a company called Lifetime Training. They're the biggest in the UK. They work with Marks and Spencer's, Tesco's, you know, so they are here, but they don't see themselves as Oxfordshire, and it's trying to make that link. So.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure you get an invite to the next.
Yeah, that would be great.
Provider forum. It'd be really good to have your sort of perspective and thoughts on that, and then you can see what providers are there and which ones aren't there, and who we should be inviting, really. Yeah, Gordon, sorry, Stuart. I know, I've just seen I've got Gordon here. Can you hear me, Gordon?
Yeah, I can.
Have you been kicked out?
When we transferred into the rooms, I got kicked out, and then I struggled like anything to get back in. I've had to do all sorts of things.
That's right.
So I am back.
Stuart's been in and out of the meeting and in and out of the room more times than I've admitted him and assigned him, and we've given up now. So we're just sitting having a chat.
So they're still in the rooms, are they?
They are. I'm gonna get them back in a couple of. In fact, I'm gonna give them an announcement. They've got 2 minutes. Hi, Aoife.
Hi. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just back. Excuse me. Eat something quickly before I keel over.
Yeah. That's okay. Just saying, Aoife, I've been playing. We've had fun and games with the breakout rooms. People going in, they're being kicked out, or their screen going blank. So they've been in and out, but. Now it's okay. We haven't had anybody else apart from Gordon's just arrived, but it's just been poor Stuart's been left talking to me. But we're just talking about training providers and how it's always the same old ones that work with us, and the others we really need to engage more. And Stuart's his background is you know training in exactly that, so it'd be good to get him along to the next training provider forum and see which ones are there and which ones need to be there.
Absolutely.
Because we work with, it's always OAS, Ignite, ACE,
Engineering Trust.
Yeah, Engineering Trust. It's always the same ones that are doing lots of stuff with schools.
Yeah.
And it's part of one of the benchmarks. They need to be working with training providers and inviting them in to speak to young people. So it's something we need to do more of.
Excuse me. Sorry, starving.
How's things, Gordon?
Yeah, they're fine in the main. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Had a week away last week in Shropshire, so that was good.
Very nice. We need to get our get a meeting with Jackie. She did message me a couple of weeks ago saying let's get something sorted, but she's been manically busy. But I'll go back to her and see if we can get a date to get together. I mean, she's doing great stuff there. There's so much happening.
Yeah, she is. I mean, well, you only got to look at her compass figures, and you look at yourself and think, well, you know, she's obviously got the idea and knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
There is at least one sort of fairly major weakness, but I'd like to understand a bit more what's behind that.
It's the work experience which they've all been really impacted with and sort of not going out, but I think now we can say other schools are. I had a meeting at Chipping Norton School yesterday, and they've got the whole lot. Every single student's going out has got a placement for July, which is brilliant.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I know some companies who are still not welcoming outsiders back into the workplace.
Yeah, some of our schools are finding that, aren't they? They're struggling to find some placements.
Yeah, they're still being cautious, and having students coming in from schools where where the pandemic is still going hell for leather. They don't want people from that environment into their workplace, and I sort of appreciate what they're saying.
All right.
We are back.
We're back. Maria,
Okay.
I'll catch up with you afterwards about that. Maria.
Sorry if that was another rude interruption of conversations going on. We've had a bit of fun and games with people dropping out of rooms and going back into rooms, and so I think all bar 2 managed to get back into rooms. So I've just been chatting to the 2 that didn't, and I think one room ended up with quite a lot in it as well, because it was the only room that I managed to assign anybody to. So apologies if you're in a big group. Anyway, Nikki, any feedback from your, was there a good conversation going on?
No, really good conversation. I think it was just really interesting to hear different people's approach and where they are on the journey, and yeah, it was really useful, I think, for everyone to just hear sort of those. There we had some that are already meeting all the benchmarks, have done some great work around it, but how do you continue to support that going forward? Different approaches in terms of the importance of working with the senior leadership team. Catherine also shared the opportunity of actually working with teachers as well, and supporting teachers so they can see the real benefit of the EA role, so it gets you more engaged and ingrained within the school. A couple of us have said they've made some real progress. So Maria was saying in terms of Fitzwarren, which is one of our SEND schools, they've made real progress around Benchmark 1, as Eileen said around her school as well, and for some reason that's just gone out of my head in terms of which school that was, but they've been really working hard on focusing on Benchmark 1, which is great to hear. And I think we talked as well about the importance of, you are that careers leaders, you're their trusted advisor. You're the person, if your careers leader is doing a good job, that means you've done a brilliant job as an EA. So, and some of the careers leaders, we talked, Kate brought up the fact that, you've got really different levels of careers leaders, some who are deputy heads and have got, a lot of authority within the school, and then some who are careers leaders who maybe feel like they sit in a little room on their own in the school, and no one really knows that they're there. And as an EA, you can really be about sort of championing and supporting them. If they want to go and talk to the senior leadership team or the governors, offer to go with them, do the presentation with them, be that person that right-hand person who can really support them with what they're trying to do. So yeah, some really useful bits and pieces. I don't know if anyone else, any other groups had anything.
Yeah, room 1, does anybody want feedback from room 1? Trying to see who was in that room.
Which rooms were
Stuart, Olivia, well, Catherine was there, then she ended up in room 4, I think, probably. Stuart, who's just gone, Nicola, Kieran, anybody left?
Yeah, I would just, if I can just sort of jump in, I just wanted to say that in terms of sharing best practice and what's been successful, it would be really good to have that on some sort of document. So it obviously, if there's schools that are struggling, there's ideas that can be readily, available.
Yeah, now we've actually got an EA LinkedIn page for Oxfordshire. Now I'm wondering whether we resurrect that and have that as a
great idea.
place. I think some of you are on it already, I've invited, but we've got lots of new EAs who aren't invited to it. So if I get you all into the LinkedIn group, that might be quite a good forum to share.
Really good idea, Stephen. Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
Good idea. From room 3, we were also talking about access to good practice and good ideas, especially around sort of website development, recognizing that kind of you've got a huge range of different schools. But yeah, if there's sort of 3 or 4 schools that have got excellent websites for engaging the external community, so engaging parents, engaging employers, that sort of thing, that would be useful.
Yeah, I think the one website at the moment I'm telling schools to look at is Burford, because they've just redone theirs. They've got a careers leader who's really driving stuff forwards there. So have a look at Burford School's website. I'd say it's one of the best ones at the moment. There are others good, and again, as EAs, if you think you've got a great, your school's got a great website, then please share and let us know.
Thank you. I'll have to leave now. Sorry.
No worries. Thanks so much.
It's the next meeting for work. So here we go.
Okay.
Making up.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye. Okay, any more? I'm conscious of time now as well. So has anybody else got any other feedback or anything they'd like to share before we finish?
I just wanted to very quickly mention about EA recruitment, Susan. So we're doing really well in terms of a lot of our mainstream schools certainly have enterprise advisors now. Where we're really lacking, it's a shame Maria's just dropped off in a way, but what we're really lacking is enterprise advisors for our SEND schools. And Maria has just spoken really passionately about that. Something, you know, she's not worked with SEND schools before or anything like that, but actually how she's really finding it very fulfilling and is loving working with the careers leader there as well. So if you know of anyone who you think would be great as an enterprise advisor, working with a special school is not really any different than working with a mainstream school, and in some ways it tends to be better because it would be smaller, and the careers leader would probably have more time to work with those students, so you can really make a real difference. So I would just, if you know of anyone who you think would be great at that or great as an EA, please do ask them to get in touch with us, and we can look at how we can support them that. But they're a great community to work with, and their ambition is to get those that are able to into work. You know, that is the ambition. It's no different from within mainstream school. It's just maybe looking at different employers, etc., which certainly Eleanor, who's our SEND EC, can support with as well. So yeah, please, I just wanted to flag that.
Yeah, and I'd just add that we've got Stuart on the call here as well, who is at IFLI Academy. He's an EA there. So, and Stuart, you've been there a while now, haven't you? We were just chatting about the.
Yes, I have, and I guess they have, you know, that just added difficulty of engaging with employers locally. But again, employers tend to be a bit reticent at first, but then find it very fulfilling.
Yeah.
So if you can make those links, that's great.
Brilliant. And I'm sure Stuart would happily talk to anybody who
indeed
knows anybody who'd like to start working with a special school.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless anybody else has got anything they'd like to add, we've sort of I know our originally assigned time was to finish at 9:30, but we had sort of thought we might finish by 9:15, so we're sort of in between.
I want to mention the celebration event, Susan.
Yes, so the next date is going to be the 30th of June, and it's going to be a celebration event. It's going to be from 4 till 6. I'll be sending out a diary invite with Mordy. We're waiting to be able to confirm the venue, but if you just hold that date, 30th of June, 4 till 6 p.m, and we'll get information out to you as soon as possible. But I will send you a holding date for your diary in the meantime. Okay, no more questions, nothing else. I hope you found this morning useful. I hope it's been a chance to have a chat with some other EAs, and as we say, the next meeting will be face to face, so it'll be even better still, hopefully. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you for coming so early.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.